Good afternoon and happy Friday, you gorgeous brewery folk. Thank you once again for tuning into Branding for Breweries. I am Tim, otherwise known as the Brand Weaver. And Branding for Breweries, if you don't know by now, is the show where I invite guests from all over the world to come in, wax lyrical about their breweries, about what they do in the brewing world in order to help your own brewery thrive and survive. And I continue to thank all of you who take the time to tune in, give me your earballs, give me your eyeballs. It's awesome that this has been going for so long now, coming up to the 25th episode, which is epic. And I can't wait to continue doing even more of this. Now, today, I'm going to introduce you to the amazing Andy Parker. He is the founder of Elusive Brewing here in the UK, and they've got a really cool, nostalgic vibe. But I don't want to spoil anything. I just want to bring Andy in. We're going to have a great chat about how he built the brand, the identity, and what that has done for them, and what they're planning to do in the future. So without further ado, everyone, put your digital hands together for Andy. Andy.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, mate. How are you getting on, man?
Yeah, good. Yeah, just on the stroke of midday. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
It is. It's official. You're allowed to have a pint now, if you want to. It's just 12
Pint of
o'clock.
water.
Hey, stay hydrated, my man. Stay hydrated. Andy, dude, I'm a big fan of your work. A big fan of the beers. Really big fan. Love it. Tried many of the beers. But if anything, I'm probably even more of a fan of the identity and the vibe that you've created around it. But before we dive into that too much, for those people who potentially haven't heard of Elusive because they're not UK based, or they're discovering other breweries, could you give us a little bit of background as to who you are, what you do, and where do you come from in a very blind date, Cilla Black-esque fashion?
Yeah, so my name's Andy. Great to be on the broadcast. So I'm the founder and owner of Elusive Brewing. We're a small 5-barrel microbrewery based in Finchampstead in Berkshire. Which has got 2 breweries. Siren are over the road from us. Are we call them our noisy neighbours, but actually massive help having them there because we're always in their pockets for things. But yeah, we've got a nice little community here in Finchampstead having 2 breweries. We started in 2016, so we're coming up to 10 years next year, the start of next year. And I was a homebrewer who was kind of had homebrewing as a hobby to kind of break the drudgery of my IT job. So every Sunday I would be in the kitchen and I'd brew some beer and then make dinner. And that's how I kind of got into it and ended up joining a club and entering competitions, won a national competition, the prize of which was to have the beer brewed commercially by Dark Star and £5,000. And that became the deposit on the kit that we bought. This was back in 2014. And eventually we got up and running ourselves. So that's our little backstory.
Hey, and it comes from victory as well, winning a competition, which gives you that kind of confidence that you're onto something right now. And do you say that was 2015 that you?
So the competition was 2014, but the brewery started in 2016.
Okay, so 10-year anniversary, very soon.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't decide if it's flown by or if feels like forever. I mean, it's that weird bit in the middle with COVID and things being kind of topsy-turvy for a while, but in a way. It kind of helped define us, and it helped. We pushed into canning, and that was really a bit of a catalyst for getting the brand out there a bit more. So it was interesting times, and in a way that kind of period flew by. But 10 years coming up, which is good for any small business. But I'm pretty happy to be hopefully making that milestone next year.
Right. Yeah, that's a phenomenal achievement for any brewery these days. So massive congratulations. And as you mentioned then, like actually it's when you start to do the canning and things that the brand really started to spread. And of course, this is what we want to talk about today, that you've got a really distinct style that is becoming synonymous with Elusive. And if people haven't seen it, it's this wonderful 8-bit retro arcade vibe. And could you unpack, like, where did that come from? Were you trying loads of different styles and ended up on it? Or were you just always like, no, this is what we're doing?
So the name and the branding, it kind of came from Elusive was my gamertag on Xbox, and the whole brand is built around gaming. We had our first commercial beer released as a collab in 2014. It was a collab with Weirdbeard. I was friends with Greg and Brian, who founded Weirdbeard through our homebrew club. And Greg's like, well, you're putting a beer out commercially. You need some kind of name for the brewery and a logo so we can put it on the bottle. So kind of got racking my brains. And my wife, Jane, said, why don't we go down a gaming like pixel artwork vibe. And a friend of mine, Kerry Jones, was a graphic designer working in corporate branding, putting logos on pens and stuff like that. And he was itching to get involved in. If listen, Kerry, I'm not doing your work down. Those were his words. He was itching to get into something more interesting, get his teeth into and helping to create a brand. And he just offered to help out as a friend. So we had the name, we had the idea of kind of pixel 8-bit, and he took that and come up with some ideas around the logo and the barrel emblem that we use. And that kind of launched the brand really. And he did the first few label designs for us. Lord Nelson was the beer that we brewed with Weird Beard. So we did a collab, and then we rebrewed that beer, but with Elusive branding before we got up and running. They were kind of helping to get our name out there, and that was like an 8-bit Admiral Nelson on the bottle. And then we did Level Up, which is the Donkey Kong-esque, inspired by, in case Nintendo listening, kind of branding with the platform and the ladders. And it just went from there really. Did our first few designs that Kerry did, and we then kind of picked the brand up and ran with it ourselves. And it's kind of brought us a long way, and it's kind of an endless supply of names and of artwork, kind of inspirations in terms of a huge catalogue of 80s games. A lot of them are BBC Micro inspired, which was my kind of first computer at school when I was about 10, and I had an Acorn Electron at home. And then we go from there into kind of more modern games. A lot of Half-Life 2 references, Grand Theft Auto, all the way to modern day kind of scene. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about there's just a bank of so many kind of references and nostalgic throwbacks that you can pull from. It's almost a never-ending resource. When you started the identity and bringing the 8-bit in, like how quickly did you realize that it had legs? Like, were people immediately going, "This is pretty cool," or did it take a bit of time and a bit of tweaking?
Yeah, we first kind of our first social media platform that we really pushed on was Twitter. This was, obviously back in 2016 when it was still is most of their primary following. Maybe we're less active on it these days, but there was a big retro gaming community on Twitter and Instagram actually, and they started to pick up on this, and we ended up getting this kind of retro gaming following. And we would put these obscure game references in, and immediately get a reply going, "Oh, that's that level from Jet Set Willy 2." And I'm like, "How do you know this?" Generally it piqued the interest of retro gamers and kind of brought them into what we were doing with beer. We kind of saw that crossover and just kind of lent into that and built a bit of a following from the gaming community as well.
I think that's amazing, and it's such a great example of how you can appeal to more than just your standard beer drinkers. Like actually you find a second community. And are they still closely following you? Those kind of the gamers, they still
we do. We try and tag things a bit on socials to encourage engagement with that community. We still obviously reference a lot of old games and have a lot of fun with that. Finding those obscure references that always get sniffed out as to where they're from. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that we do still lean on. I'd love to do more with it actually. It's still a big opportunity for us. I mean, the gaming community is obviously massive. There's that crossover with beer in terms of people of a certain age, if you like, in terms of enjoying what we do, and they're the people that are generally buying craft beer. And there's a nice crossover there that I think we could probably lean on a bit more, but we do still get a lot of engagement from them.
Yeah, I'm thinking I see all the Twitch streamers, they've got their can of Monster or Sneak energy drink, but then you've got that slightly different generation, not necessarily older, but different. And I'm pretty sure they're going to want a can of craft beer whilst they're smashing away on whatever system they're using. So, of course, the artwork is core, and you talked about using those almost Easter eggs and references into little games around the naming. But what other applications do you use in terms of where you apply the 8-bit? Because obviously in the tap room I can see behind you've got some system kicking off in the background, but where else can people experience the vibe of the Elusive brand?
I mean, we built the tap room around Oregon Trail, which is our flagship beer. So the wall behind me is a giant recreation of the background on the label, and then over the other side of the tap room we've got a wagon, which is some bench seating with wheels on it. So we kind of, it's a kind of an homage to our flagship beer, and then each table on one side has got its own video console, where we've got the mini consoles, PlayStation, the Sega, and so on, so people can play retro games while they're here. And it's interesting watching that dynamic, because you see mums and dads come in with their kids, and they're like, "Oh, you got to play this game. I used to play this," and watching the next generation of gamers kind of pick up on a really old game and start playing it is quite fun to watch.
And also the perks of going, well, actually the kids are entertained for a little bit longer, so I can squeeze in another pint. Because
I'm not shy in saying that. Keep the kids happy, the parents stay longer and spend more. So that's good for us. We also, every festival we go to, we tend to take a console or something with us, so people can play games at our bar, just to kind of cement that connection.
I think it's phenomenal, and it's something that I've spoken about in the past, that if a brewery can find that thing, obviously yours is gaming and 8-bit, but then you can show it throughout. So it's amazing that the taproom is so reflective of that. It just screams elusive. Like you couldn't be in anyone else's taproom.
Yeah,
it's yours. You own it, versus what is the standard kind of the benches and the industrial pipe work that you expect from a number of taprooms. It's just wonderful to hear it spreading around. But I wonder, like, if money were no limit, where would you want to take the brand? How would you want to implement it? Like, have you got any fun ideas that you'd love to do but you haven't done yet?
I've always had this idea of having playable pump clips on a bar. I mean, we'd probably drive bar staff mad, but if you could take the clip off the front and just play a game and have like some connection there, or some activation where you get a certain score. And you get a free half that we cover, that kind of thing would be a lot of fun. So if we had money was no object, like playable pump, take the brand to pubs and bars, we'd have a lot of fun with that, I think.
And also I love that idea of the leveling up, like the membership side of things. Like that could be very cool, even using that language and terminology.
Yes,
it's wicked. Have you ever considered turning yourself into like an 8-bit character, and you've got a platform game? Collecting the ingredients to make the beer at the end. I reckon
that would be fun. We in the old tap room, which is 2 units down. It's now a production space. We've got like an 8-bit brewery scene with myself, Rick, and Ruth, who used to work with us, on the wall, kind of running through the brewery doing stuff. So that's the other scene, but before we kind of went down the Oregon Trail route in the new space. So yeah, we've definitely got room to do more of that.
So let's talk about the nostalgic side of things. Like you already said, it's tapped into the other market of the gamers, but are you starting to get people who are just buying the beer because they recognize the reference, versus like, oh yeah, I love a West Coast or a particular type of, like, oh, I know that game, so I've got to get it?
We do definitely see that. We see it on our Untapped check-ins, where somebody will have bought a beer and it's, I had to get this because it's this. I remember this game. So people definitely do buy for the brand and for that nostalgia. We also a little bit with we know for our West Coast beers, Oregon Trail was our best seller as a West Coast IPA, and we had that kind of during COVID when we first canned that beer. You had that kind of general nostalgia, so beery nostalgia outside of the brand that's kind of propelled us forward a bit as well. So that's been an interesting crossover with this brewing kind of. We do modern styles. We do all sorts. We've got a raspberry and watermelon beer, we just can, but we do most of our output and what we're known for is West Coast, which is seen as nostalgic in a sense as well. And that was, I think, during lockdown when people were being nostalgic about being able to go out. Was kind of took them back to fun times when they were probably drinking those beers if they were beer geeks back in the day when we all got into beer, kind of thing.
Yeah. And you mentioned like the sour that you're just canning at the moment. How much thought is there that goes into kind of picking the name and how to align kind of that gamey 8-bit reference to the style? Is that quite easy to do, or can it be quite tricky?
It's to be honest, I think a lot of people will tell you that coming up with a name is often the hardest bit. But it's been a mix of where I might come up with an idea for some artwork before we've designed the beer, so one leads the other. But more often than not, we've got the beer in tank, and I'm like, right, we need a name. Because like most, small modern breweries, we do quite a heavy rotational, a lot of one-off beers, and somewhat variations on a theme to a degree. But we do a lot of one-off beers, and we do need to continually be creating artwork and creating design. So it's yeah, often one leads the other. But it's an ongoing challenge to keep things fun and interesting.
So you haven't sat down and you've just specced out. You've got a massive list of references that you can just pull from at any point. It's
I've got a list of games.
What do we do?
Yeah, like lately we're going through. We did a series of car scales that were place names in Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls. Like, that's an endless. They're all some of them really annoyingly long and weird hard to say. So it got narrowed down, but we do look at kind of themes and variations on themes of names. So occasionally I come up with an idea like, right, we've done the first one in the series. Here's the next 6.
Yeah.
So the names are there ready to go, and I'll do the artwork for them. But it's interesting keeping that kind of ticking over. But we do cut across. We often go back to like a BBC, like a classic 80s game on BBC Micro, for example, through just a generic pixel art theme, like a nostalgic. Today we can the beer called Wave Rider, which is an 8-bit speedboat zipping across the water towards San Diego, and kind of the general pixel theme, which is a little bit reminiscent of like Grand Theft Auto, like Vice City and games like that.
Yeah, that's where my mind went.
80s music and with the sea and like the skylines.
And is that the safest way to avoid, getting your wrist slapped, because I'm guessing you can't go too close to anything because of trademarking side of things. Right?
Yeah, it's interesting. We do check trademarks. I mean, occasionally we slip up, as it's been known to happen for a lot of breweries. But it's and apologies to Justin from Morebeer if you're listening for a recent slip up with naming our beer the same as one of theirs, and we had a bit of a chat about it. But just a very friendly chat, and we talked about brewing a beer together, so it's all very friendly. But yeah, it's hard. So you have to do check trademarks, check Untapped to make sure that the brewery down the road hasn't got a beer of the same name. But generally, when we go quite obscure, obviously with places from Elder Scrolls or Levels and Jet Set Willy 2, we're pretty safe there. And it's very, very rare we'll find an active trademark for like an old game.
I was going to say, because they finish at a certain point, isn't it? After X amount of years.
They do expire, yeah.
So that's helpful. And so there you go. Again, for other breweries, if you're going to take inspiration from anything, make sure it's super old, because there's limited trademarks on it.
Yes.
Still Have you had like any kind of like people recognizing or acknowledging what you've done from the games? Like people have gone, hey, I was involved in that game. It's phenomenal to see a reference.
Yeah, we did quite early on, actually, back when we were bottling. So I think it was around about 2018, maybe. And we used to brew a beer called Overdrive. We do occasionally still brew it. It was one of our early core beers. It was an American pale ale. And it was based on a BBC Micro game where you're on a racetrack, you're driving a race car, very to like a faux 3D, where you just steer left and right and the cars come towards you. You remember those type of games.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I got an email from a chap who said, a friend of mine just sent me a photo of your pump clip. He was in a pub in Newcastle. And that's my game. I wrote that game, Overdrive. I thought, here we go. I'm going to get a trademark infringement kind of thing. And he just thought it was great that somebody even remembered this game. And he told me a bit of the story about it. And yeah, he was kind of flattered that we'd even remembered that this game existed from 1984.
Dude, that's phenomenal. Have you had anyone reach out to do collabs? Like anyone who has like games in the pipework and stuff? Or
we've had some kind of board gaming type ventures have been in touch. Not so much on the video games, and it's something, again, a big opportunity for us to look at that in future, to maybe get involved with an actual game studio and do something along those lines would be fun.
Yeah, because you see, obviously Tiny Rebel have got the 28 Days Later, so that's the film crossover. You see a lot of filmic kind of crossovers and music, but the gaming culture may be potentially a little bit behind. So if anyone knows anyone who's working on a groundbreaking game, hook up Andy.
If you want a beer, let us know.
So if we were to kind of like extrapolate this for other breweries listening, going, oh yeah, I've kind of got a bit of a passion outside of brewing. I want to try and bring that in. I want to make it part of my brewery. Like, what would your hints and tips be to that little brewer who's just getting going?
I think you need to. I mean, I was always big into my gaming, and I think I was somewhat immersed in that scene anyway. So I think that's the key: is be part of that scene and make it authentic. So you've got that crossover. You're not just picking something out of the blue. You're actually living and being part of that, whatever that interest is, and then bring that into what you're doing with your beer and your branding. So yeah, be authentic with it and try to get immersed in both areas and find that crossover.
Does it make it easier because you've got like that secondary passion alongside brewing as well, that you're like turbocharging what you're doing?
I think so. I never get bored of the coming up with new ideas, new designs, because it's something I genuinely enjoy, and I love. I'll start looking at old games and I'll find myself playing them, and it's a lot of fun because it's still something that interests me, rather than just something that we did at the start and we just keep doing it for the sake of it. So still very much interested in it, still play a lot of games and enjoy that nostalgic look back at some of the older stuff.
Love it. And so say this brewer goes, yep, I'm really deep into whatever it might be, line dancing. I don't know why I said line dancing. It's really random, but I thought it would go for it. I'm going to make a line dancing themed brewery. My beers are going to be based around moves that line dancers do. I'm sure they pick, oh God, I should have picked something I know more about, but I'm stuck in this rabbit hole now. We're going in, Andy. Bear with me. Do you have like a framework or things that you go, right, we have to respect this, we have to follow this, like almost a set of guides every time, you're looking at the artwork, looking at the naming, it's like do's and don'ts, and what would they be?
That's a good question. I think we kind of we talked about trademarks and kind of respecting the work of others. I mean, that's important. But I think also, we'll try and find when we reference an old game, again, make that an authentic reference to it. Be it, as I mentioned, a level within it or a cheat code for that game or something like that, that someone who's into their gaming can connect with, and we maintain that connection. So no real kind of hard do's and don'ts. But I think just a general aim to maintain that connection and keep it authentic, so that people that are finding us through game kind of are able to make that connection.
And because you've got a focus, a niche, call it that, I suppose, if you were, in terms of the brand, does it make it easier for you in terms of the naming and the artwork, or is it still a challenge each and every time?
A mix. Sometimes they just, they're obvious and easy references to say when we find a theme and we can roll a theme for a little while, then it gets a bit easier. But I don't know. It's always obviously we can a lot of beer and we want to make sure we're standing out on the shelf, and the can is the biggest visible format of our brand, probably maybe other than the cast pamphlets, but that's a very specific audience in the pub. But if you're kind of on a shelf, then you want to make sure you keep standing out. So we look at particular color palettes and things like that maintain some degree of consistency, so people can continue to recognize the brand, logo in the same place, beer name in the same place, that kind of. So you've got a row of the cans, you can kind of spot that theme and spot that connection between them.
And it's just thinking, you're talking about the gamer groups that you have that you've drawn in. So when you were first starting Elusive, were you proactively reaching out to those groups as well and letting them know what was going on, or did they naturally find you?
Do I wasn't really reaching out to them. It was a bit of a happy accident in a way. I mean, the first beers games we launched with Lord Nelson was not really a game reference. It was named after the hop, actually, Nelson Sauvin. Level Up, which is a generic gaming reference, so with some kind of Donkey Kong-esque thing. But we didn't really lean on specific games probably until near the end of our first year, when we started doing Overdrive, Starship Fleet, and some other beer that were named after games. So we didn't actually start out. It was 8-bit themed and pixel artwork, but not necessarily hardcore game. It has to be a game reference, and we do still drift in and out of that. But the gaming bit came a bit later, and that's when we started to see more engagement from that community. So it's more of a, I'd like to say it was a strategy I had from the start. It was just kind of more organic than that.
Yeah, but I suppose there must have been something that showed, oh yeah, if we start to lean a bit more into the gaming side of things, we're pulling more people in. So even if it wasn't a strategy, it's something you could clearly notice and learn from in many ways.
Yeah, definitely.
What about events that you attend? So naturally, just before we went live, we were talking about the festivals that you're attending this year. But do you look into any like gaming events and things like that? Have you been asked to feature or have set up a pop-up bar at any gaming conferences and stuff?
We've had some of our off-trade customers have taken small pack to gaming events and have sought us out because they're running bars at gaming events. But we haven't actually looked at that ourselves. But the potential is there again, and I mean, we're a very small team here, but it's something that we could look at in future around, attending, retro gaming fairs, things like that. I mean, there's an obvious crossover there.
Yeah, and again, it's stuff that I know I've talked about in the past, that if you have a second audience at that point, so you start to make yourself a kind of a market of one. Like, you're not just a brewery anymore, you're a retro gaming brewery, you're a line dancing brewery, which I'm going to explore that after this call. Let's see if we can make it.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Any of my American people out there want to give it a go, just holler at your boy. So line dancing is making me cough now. It would appear that I'm allergic to any form of physical activity. Nightmare. So Andy, what have you got coming up? What can people expect to see from Elusive? Where can they check out this awesome 8-bit gaming vibe that you've got going on?
We've got some fun stuff coming up with the Great British Beer Festival this year. So that's in August at the NEC in Birmingham, first week in August. We're doing going to be the Learn and Discover Brewery on the Tuesday, and we're going to create the same beer with 4 different yeasts, which will be, it's quite nerdy, but our audience is very nerdy, and I think they'll enjoy that. So particularly our homebrew following will really enjoy that. So unique wort, unique base, but we're fermented with 4 different yeasts, and people can come down to the stand and try those. We'll do them in small pack as well, so they can give them a go and try it at home and kind of nerd out on yeast. That's a fun thing to do.
I'll be there, so I'm going to swing by. I want to give these yeasts a go. And what about online? People who can't get to GBBF, where could they take a peek at your cans and see what you guys are up to?
Yeah, I mean, sure, hit up elusivebrewing.com. So we've got, we sell on, got a web shop, but also got a kind of a view of all our beers there. So I really want to get an archive library up of all of our previous beers, because we've done hundreds now. And because of that kind of connection. Something like that would be good, like a gallery on the website. But I'll add it to my to-do list. But in terms of what we've got available now, you can check out the website and have a look at that, or our Instagram as well, Elusive Brew.
Phenomenal. Okay, so Andy, let's wrap this up, and just one final question from me, sir, to you, obviously, because there's no one else on the call, not that I'm aware of. You're sat in a pub. There's a brewer who's sat next to you, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just starting my brewery, but my cab's just 1 minute away." Like, you're the Elusive guy, right? Like, you've been going for 10 years. Like, what's your secret? What do I need to know in order to achieve success like you, Andy? What do you tell them?
The hardest thing I found was the business side, running a business. If you've not done that before and you're new, almost the brewing and the beer is the easy part. But getting your head around cash flow, around all those really important business things is way, way more important. Because if you can't run a business well, there's no point starting out. And we all kind of learn a little bit as we go. But my best advice would be to learn that aspect of the brewery, like get your head around the business side of things, go on those HMRC webinars, go and look at all that boring stuff and get that straight in your head first. Make sure that you're kind of ready to run the business as well as create a brand and create beer.
Amazing. Yeah, it's that jump from hobby to business, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you've got a hobby, you don't mind losing a bit of money, but if you're starting a business, it's got to be ran like one. Got sage words, sir. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. Well, Andy, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this afternoon. It's been fantastic to find out a little bit more about Elusive and how you built the brand, tied into your own passions, and how that's spread far beyond what is the can and clip artwork. It's epic. Everyone, I encourage you to check out Andy and Elusive and just try and get your hands on the cans, or sample some of the handful stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous. But until next time, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. You've been absolutely awesome. If you like this show, please go and like, subscribe, follow, and all of that horrible stuff that makes me feel icky when I say it. But you'll find the podcast everywhere. Just search for Branding for Breweries, people. And until next time, you rock on.